I'm life and business coach Samantha, and this is the Online Business Building Mamas podcast, where you learn how to build a wildly successful business from home while raising kids. Welcome to another episode of the Badass Mother podcast. I am really excited to be recording this today because I just got to take off my Invisalign to record this, and it's so much easier to talk without those trays in. I've had a couple different calls with clients today, and I was lisping so bad. So I decided just for my podcast episodes only, I would be taking my Invisalign out. I'm supposed to wear them for at least 20 hours a day. So it's pretty limited the amount of time I can have them out. I can't do it for coaching sessions, but for you, I'm going to. So I hope that this sounds beautiful. So I was just at this conference last week, and I walked away with so many good notes, and so much of what I learned and picked up and observed over the course of that conference is going to be brought into a lot of my content. So stay tuned for some really good breakthroughs, some really good thoughts. A lot of it was stuff that I already teach, but sometimes you hear it in a different way. So I was like, ooh, I really like how they worded that, or I really liked how they explained that. So I'm very excited to bring some of that to you. I also walked away with like a million ideas for mini podcast episodes. So those will be coming your way this summer. Get ready. It's going to be really exciting. For those of you who like something short and sweet, you're going to be getting those as an additional podcast. So you'll be getting me twice a week. I'm really, really excited for this. So today, I have the topic, which is one of the most common questions I get from people who have not yet started a business. So if that is you, or if you're thinking about starting a new business, I think this episode is going to be perfect for you. And for the rest of you, I think it might just be interesting. So what I'm doing today is telling a story of my personal experience deciding to start this business, and then giving you some lessons that you can take along the way. And they're going to be relevant to you whether you have a business or not. But this is really going to be about how I decided what business to start and how I found that purpose and that passion and really feel like I'm doing what I was meant to be doing all along. So hopefully you'll enjoy that story. So like I said, I get a lot of questions from people who are trying to figure out what business to start, and then second guessing themselves and overthinking everything. So a lot of times these are even women who have started a business and then they're second guessing and overthinking the whole thing. So instead of building it, they're questioning it. I also hear from a lot of women who don't know what their purpose or their passion in life is. And for those of you who did always know their purpose or their passion, or who knew from the beginning exactly what kind of business you wanted to start, that could seem inconceivable. The friend that I went to this conference with was like, wait, there's people who didn't know what kind of business they wanted to start. She just knew. It came from a personal experience she had, and then she just knew that she had to do this. But it is actually really common that people don't know. They're like, I want a business, I want a purpose in my life, but I don't know what it is. And they feel like they have to find it somewhere deep in themselves or out in the world. And it's like this big thing. They have to go on this hunt before they can start a business or move forward really in doing something big in the world. So today I'm going to be telling my story and I'm going to give you solid, actionable steps to be making your next move, whatever that may be. And I think, like I said, this will be really relevant to you, whether you have a business already or not. So I hope that proves true. All right, let's get into my story. So, for those of you who don't know, I was raised by an entrepreneur. My dad was a couple different types of entrepreneurs throughout my childhood. So when I was a super young child, he was in the Navy. And then when he got out, he got into the mortgage business, and he was also doing Amway as a side gig at this time. So I grew up, like, from almost as long as I can remember, hearing personal development seminar recordings and that kind of thing in the car, and reading personal growth books, reading mindset books, reading business books. And like I said, listening, it was like the pre-podcast was these tapes that we had. And I really got brainwashed. I mean, that sounds terrible, but brainwashed with business and mindset and all of the things that I talk about today. And what's kind of funny is that very clearly set a really clear foundation for what I would be doing later in my life, but I didn't put it together for a long time, like probably another 20, 25 years after that, before I realized, like, oh, all of these things go together. It's all been leading to this one thing. But aside from my little brainwashing childhood, I had always been passionate about helping people. So I had always been like a peer mentor. I had always taken leadership roles. I had always done volunteering to help other people in one way or another. At that time, I was really involved in my church. I was a mentor for younger girls there. I was a camp counselor. I joined a sorority in college and was a leader there. It was just always a part of who I was, that I was very passionate about helping people and making some kind of a contribution back. So volunteering and mentoring and leading others was always a big piece. And of course, now you're like, well, duh, you're a coach. But at the time, it didn't seem like it was something that was a part of my career. It seemed like it was just something on the side of my career. In college, I studied psychology and marketing. Right after college, I basically took the first job I could get, and I ended up being a project manager, and I did some marketing. I actually did a whole rebrand campaign and some other like business strategy stuff for the project that I was running. And truly, I did it because I was bored. It was like this or Spider Solitaire. And after you play Spider Solitaire for so long, you eventually get bored. And then you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to create some more work for myself. So that is what I did at that first job. And after that project launched and everything, there's this time, a little over a year out of college, where I just had this feeling like, is this really it? Like, is this it in my life? And I had kind of a bout of depression that summer where I just felt like this can't be all there is. Like, I just felt like I had been this driving force forward for so long. You know, I graduated from college early and that kind of thing. Like, I'd always really been pushing myself to achieve. And I hit this point where it was like, oh no, I'm in this job that's not really that challenging unless I make it more challenging for myself. And I'm not that passionate about it. It was just the first offer I got. And I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. So at this point, I decided to sign up for grad school, and I decided to pursue a master's in counseling. For a little while, I thought I was going to go to law school. I took the LSAT. Thank goodness. Like, I always look back and I'm like, the only reason I would want to be a lawyer is for the ego of saying that I went to law school and that I was an attorney. Like, really, the rest of it sounds terrible. And I see my friends who are lawyers now, and I'm like, thank goodness I escaped. So I went to grad school for counseling. I studied marriage and family counseling in particular. And right around the time I graduated from that, we moved across the country and our first baby was born. And for those of you who know my story with that, I really deeply struggled with mental illness during that pregnancy and after. And it got to the point where I didn't want to leave the house. I was too afraid to leave the house. I was having panic attacks all the time and really was homebound. It was not like I was out there looking for jobs or that kind of thing. I kind of had looked for jobs when I first moved, and there really wasn't anything. This was around the time that the economy was tanking, and there just wasn't a lot of opportunity. And I didn't have any connections in the area or anything like that. So it was a rough time, and my career was the furthest thing from my mind at that time. And from there, as you know, I have 2 other kids. As a stay-at-home mom who went through these mental illness struggles, who was at home, but who had never really had that mental image for themselves, I really felt that I lost myself and my identity in motherhood. Being a mom had never been like a big life goal for me. I know there's some women who just always dreamed of being a mother, and I didn't. I could have taken it or left it. I felt like I truly got pregnant because it was like, well, what else do I do in life? You know, it wasn't for the right reasons. Of course, it's totally worked out now. But at that time, it was really difficult for me. And I was always, once I got out of the haze of having newborns and that kind of thing, I was always looking for ways to have an adult outlet and also make some money from home. So during this time, I was volunteering a lot. I took on very serious and time-intensive volunteer commitments. I started a lot of different little businesses and tried little jobs and everything. So this was when I did that door-to-door sales. That was when my second baby was basically a newborn. I was going door to door. And then I started a handmade business. So I did sewing, made little bags and hair ties and stuff and sold those on Etsy. And what else did I do? Blogging, surveys, secret shopper, basically everything out there that you see as like a make money from home opportunity, especially back at like 2010, 2011. Those were kinds of the things that were out there. And online business was a thing. And I don't know why I never put 2 and 2 together to think this was something that I could do, but it didn't make a connection in my mind at that time. I was just looking at other things. And at this same time, I had a friend who got involved in a network marketing company. She had tried the products. She'd had really good results losing some weight. And I was like, well, I could lose a few pounds and then also would enjoy making some money. And what she had told me was, I just started getting these checks, like $200 checks in the mail. Do you think these are real? Like, can I really take these to the bank? And I was like, yes, take those to the bank and also sign me up for whatever it is that you're doing because I need in on that. So I joined that company and did network marketing and rose through that company. I became a leader, hit those first few goal levels that we have for ourselves and was making like the most I'd ever made from home by far and feeling like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe I found what I am meant to be doing. And so at this time I was doing that. I was also volunteering heavily. And I remember thinking like, okay, this doesn't totally feel like it for me, but I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like I have this bigger purpose or bigger passion somewhere outside of me. And if I could just figure out the through line between these things, I would know and I could do it. I remember hearing on some podcast or something that word through line, like what's the through line that goes through all of the different things that you've ever done and all of the things that you've been interested in. And that idea really captivated me. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it and oddly enough, not coming up with coaching, which now is the most obvious through line in the entire world. But I was going through this process, helping people lose weight, helping them build their network marketing business, and then also mentoring younger women for my volunteering commitment. And one day I was driving down the road. I had been listening to a lot of podcasts, lots of personal development, lots of business. And I did the first episode and only episode that I ever listened of this one podcast. And it was an interview with this woman who was a former therapist, and she started a life coaching agency. So she hired other therapists and trained them to become life coaches and gave them clients. And that was how she operated her business. And she worked with young women on all the kinds of things that I was really passionate about, like our negative self-talk, perfectionism, all of those types of things. And I was like, well, crap. That was the business I should have started. This woman is me. I should have done that. And I was kind of a little frustrated at first, but then I decided, hey, she has other people who work for her. I should email her and try to get a job. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was so brave, I think, to just email her out of the blue and be like, hire me. And that is literally what I did. I pulled over the car. I looked up her email address. I applied from the side of the road, sent her that email, and quickly was hired by her, went through the interview process. And it was just one of those things that was totally meant to be. And that's how I discovered life coaching. And that's how I became a coach. And I worked through her business as a life coach for several years before I decided to branch out on my own. And I think that, I always had that little piece of me that was very fiercely independent, that was always made to be an entrepreneur. And maybe it was from all of that entrepreneurial brainwashing that I received as a kid. But I always kind of rebelled a bit at every job that I ever had. If I felt like I wasn't being recognized for my efforts, if I felt like there wasn't a quick enough payoff, or if I felt like I would get paid the same whether I was doing a good job or not, whether I was transforming the whole program and increasing revenue or playing spider solitaire all day, literally got paid the same. And that just was never okay with me. That's the most demotivating thing I've ever experienced in my life. So after working for her for a while, I definitely knew I've got this interest to open my own business. There's things I want to try, things I want to do that aren't happening here. And I just have to get out there and try it. So as you know, I decided to launch my own business. I started out as a life coach, and then after a little bit decided to shift into business coaching. And for anybody who's my actual client out there, a really big majority of the work that I do is still very similar to life coaching. So much of the inner game, so much of the mindset and your relationship with yourself really impacts your business. So I'm still kind of in that world, and that's how I found it. And it was really this winding road where I felt confused most of the time. I didn't see the end result until it happened. And I eventually got here. And now I know there's probably going to be shifts in my business and in my life over time. But I absolutely feel like I am living my purpose. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love it. I feel really fulfilled. I make the best money I ever made in my life. It's really the dream. but I didn't know when I first started that this is where I would get, So my story absolutely is what became my passion and purpose. Losing myself in motherhood, wanting a career, not liking the choices that society gave me. The whole working mom versus stay-at-home mom thing, I was just like, I don't identify in either of these categories. And there's also no part-time job out there that I can find that will pay me well enough to cover the childcare. And this isn't okay. So I created my own opportunity, and now I help other women do the same. Take their passions, their interests, their talents, and translate that into something that makes them really good money that they love doing. I think so much of it is similar to network marketing, but a lot of us get into network marketing because we don't know what else is out there, and it's not really what we're best at. It's just what we stumbled upon. And what I love about what I do is that I get to help women first choose to sell whatever it is that they want to do, what they really love to do. For me, it's coaching, and for many of my clients, it's all different kinds of stuff, web design, graphic design, virtual assisting, other different types of coaching, all kinds of things, not a product line or something like that they didn't develop, that was just given to them. And they get to build their business on their own terms. And I think that that is a really important missing link as well for a lot of us, that there's a formula with network marketing and it doesn't always play to our strengths. I didn't feel like it played to my strength. And I very much feel like being able to market my business however I want allows me to do that. It really allows me to play to my strengths. So that is how I got here. Let's talk about how this is relevant to you, no matter if you have a business or not, and what you can learn from it and apply into your life. I have 6 lessons here. So the first is that your business actually does not have to be your passionate purpose in your life. It can truly be something that comes naturally to you, that you're really good at. So for me, that's very much the marketing and business side. I'm so passionate about helping women to love and accept themselves unconditionally and apologetically, and really transform their relationships with themselves into something that is so amazing, so next level. For me, that comes hand in hand with helping them grow their business and market their business. And I think those things go together. I think to really market and sell well, you do need to have that kind of healthy relationship with yourself. So I get to do both things, but that marketing and business side of me for sure is just the thing that I think is ingrained from childhood. I was just trained to be that way and to think that way. And it is just the thing that comes simply and easily. Like if I were to just start chatting with a business owner out and about, I would immediately start brainstorming different ways to market their business and reach their customer better. So that is definitely, more of the thing I'm good at versus the thing that I'm passionate about. And I think that you need to find those things as well and really make a strong decision over what's going to be the moneymaker here. That kind of leads me into the lesson number 2. You need to balance your passion with what's practical for you right now. Your priorities are how you decide this. So whatever you decide has to be aligned with your priorities. So if speaking is something you're really passionate about, but your lifestyle doesn't allow for a speaking circuit right now, that's probably not going to be aligned with your priorities. If your number one priority is be at home with my kids every single day to pick them up from school. Now, there's definitely ways to work that and make that happen. So I don't want to say that they're not compatible at all, but I want you to really think about, you've got your passion and you've got what's practical and you've got your priorities, and all of those things have to be aligned to find that best fit. Third lesson, innovate and create. instead of copying what you see others doing. So for me, like I said, business and marketing was always something that came naturally because I was raised in it. And the niche that I'm in now, helping moms to build their businesses, came from actually having a life coaching client who was building a business. And I got so excited about her business. I was just like always brainstorming with her in addition to our life coaching, like, here's some things you can do to tweak your business. And then I was like, wow, this really comes naturally to me. And so it wasn't so much looking in the space and being like, oh, I think business coaches make more than life coaches. I don't think that's true at all. Both of my coaches are life coaches, and they make a heck of a lot more than me and many business coaches out there on the market. So don't fall into these traps of copying what other people are doing. You have to do what is true to you. And it's okay if there's other people doing it. You don't have to beat yourself up over that. But it needs to come from you. It needs to be your thing. It's got to be your idea, your passion, your interest, your innovation and creation versus just like, oh, they're doing that, I think I'll do that. The fourth lesson, choose to trust your intuition versus being indecisive. So as you heard with my story, there is a lot of stepping stones on this journey. And like I said, I had no idea what was going to be coming at the end. I had to just keep following the next right step. And I didn't ever see the end, like I said, until I was there. I actually built a whole life coaching company before I realized that I wanted to pivot into business. So it's truly okay and actually necessary for you to just keep taking that next right step and really listening to your intuition and not putting this expectation on yourself that you have to see the whole journey and that you have to know exactly where you're going at the end. Like sometimes you just know that next step in front of you and you're going to see what happens when you get there. And it may just continue to lead you closer and closer to where you really want to be. Lesson number 5, look for and pursue opportunities. You never know where they might lead. So back to me hearing that interview on the podcast, I was listening to podcasts, trying different things, exploring, listening to other people and what they had to say. And when something caught my attention, I pursued it. I didn't think about it. I didn't put it off. I actually knew in that moment, if I wait until I get home, I'm never going to email her. And imagine where we would be now. I would not be a coach, most likely, if I had not reached out to her at that time. I would probably, I don't know, maybe I'd be working a full-time job by now. But I would not be where I am today at all if I hadn't taken that one step. If I hadn't been brave and pursued that opportunity that I didn't even know at the time was an opportunity because I was just asking her, like, heard your interview, got to be a part of it. What's going on? Are you hiring? So I really encourage you to do the same and really keep your eyes open and really ask for things. Ask for what you want. See if, maybe you don't see a door in the wall, but maybe you can just be like, is there a door here? I'm going to try, just see. Try things and see and be brave to explore. Lesson number 6. This is the last one. This is so important. Once you make a decision, commit to it. Stop questioning yourself. Go all in and just really stop doing the zigzag can't decide. My coach says once you decide on a niche, you have to be committed to it for a year. I think that's a little hardcore. I've had a couple of clients who have made shifts, but I get wary when the second shift happens. It's like, what's going on here, mama? Is this fear? Is this second guessing? Is this self-doubt? Or is this intuition? And you'll know. You'll know for sure which one it is. And if you're questioning, that is your answer. It's self-doubt. It's questioning. It's not a solid knowing. So those are your 6 lessons. That is my story. I hope that this has given you some inspiration, some help when you're thinking about what business you want to start and what direction you want to go in your life and what your passion is. I think so many of you are stressing out and putting so much pressure on yourself to have this all figured out. And you don't have to. You don't have to have it all figured out to make money. You don't have to have it all figured out to be fulfilled and happy. And just because you're hitting those milestones doesn't mean you won't continue to shift and grow. It's just part of the process. So I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. I would appreciate so much if you would rate and review if you haven't already. Those reviews help me out a lot to know what kind of content you like and if you're loving this, if this is serving you. So please reach out to me via rating and reviewing and let me know what you think. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me over in my program, Mama to CEO. There's you, and there's the consistent income you want to make in your business, and I help you remove everything standing in between. It's lifetime access for mastering your marketing, sales, time, and everything else you need to have the business and life you really want. Whether it's making your first 1,000 or 100,000, I can help you do it. To join, go to mamatoceo.com, mamatoceo.com.